This story takes place on the first full moon, after Full Moon Blues. Marion Knox crippled me 10 years ago. Damn werewolf. I'm Brother Lawrence Elliott, and I used to be part of a group of Vatican-sanctioned hunters, the most holy order of the Hunters of St. Dominic, led by Father Lito di Viteri. On my first mission, I was only 21, we raided an infestation of werewolves, the Knox clan, spelled K-N-O-X. The name can be traced to the Latin nox, spelled N-O-X, which means night or darkness. Those abominations flaunted their own darkness, as if they should be proud of it. Father Lito and I and 5 others fought through the 15 men, women, and children, with at least half being werewolves. We wiped the murderous abominations out, but there came a cost. The werewolf Marion fought like a demon, biting Lito and crippling me, giving her spouse and kid time to escape. She only bought them a minute before she succumbed to the silver in the bullets. Our victory cost us much, because we lost Brother Clive. We found Marion's spouse's body, some guy named Robert, a few days later, but we couldn't find their unholy child, Landon Knox. As we tracked him over the years, we learned that he inherited his mother's unholy curse. The kid was a werewolf. A decade later, we finally found him. Landon must have been 21, and we tracked him down at the bookstore he worked at, and later he fled to an abandoned amusement park. It didn't go well. For us. The police got involved and shot Lito 5 times, killing him, and the police dragged Sister Adrian and Brother Gustavo off to who knows where, probably a psych ward or maybe a prison. The authorities couldn't find me because I'm a tech guru and had routed our comm systems through a couple of different satellites and masked our feeds so they looked like they came from Ireland. I wasn't even in the same state as my team, but coordinated everything from our base in the mountains of Colorado. I'm alone now. The Vatican has disavowed all hunters and defrocked Father Lito. Thanks to Marion Knox, I'll never walk again. She is dead. Her husband is dead, but her child still lives. He will pay for what his mother did to me. I want revenge. Landon Knox won't live long. I might be alone, but I'm not helpless. I will cleanse the world of as many werewolves as I can. Finding him was hard, but not impossible. He's hanging out with a man called Wesley Compton. Maybe he wants to make him a lover, or a protector, or turn him into a wolf. Maybe Compton is just a stupid boyfriend. Or, as I fear, Compton might be another werewolf. I checked him out online. He's the son of Edmund Compton, owner of the Wolf Hollow Wolf Preserve. I'll check them out later. Maybe they're harboring werewolves and don't know it. I tracked Compton's debit card. He's so stupid. Doesn't even realize that I've hacked into surveillance and found their location. Las Vegas, Nevada. He doesn't even realize that I've hacked into his bank history and narrowed it down to a specific location in Vegas. Or should I say one of its suburbs, just south of Henderson. I suspect a new wolf infestation is forming in the desert. They've made a serious mistake in thinking they are safe. I might be in a wheelchair, but I'm not helpless. I have a mission. The world refuses to believe that werewolves exist. I know better. I have no backup. I have no team. I don't know how many wolves are in this cluster freak. I have only one hope. They don't know I'm coming. That, and the best arsenal money can buy. Father Leto is a crafty S.O.B. God rest his soul. But just like the rest of us, someday I'll meet him in hell. Father Leto might have his mystic mumbo-jumbo, but I have something much better. The internet is my play toy. I've hacked into one of the comm satellites and have up-to-date images of the site. This is revenge for what Landon's mother did to me. This is revenge for the death of Father Leto. This is revenge for my team getting captured. I hope Marion Knox is looking up from hell and can watch me destroy the last of her family. My best weapon is the coming full moon. Werewolves lose their soul during the full moon. They can't think, they can't plan, they can't coordinate with anybody else. They're nothing but dumb animals that howl at the moon. My next best weapon is the money I've invested. Let's just say somebody had to fund Father Leto, and that was me. Since there aren't any reports of renegade wolves in the Vegas news or on police scanners, that means little Landon Knox has to spend the nights of the full moon in a cage. Poor him. Find the cage, and he'll be an easy target. If he's not in a cage, he's on a rampage. Not a problem. I'm still a hunter. The full moon is the perfect time for revenge. Landon will never know what destroyed him. That gives me 1 week to prepare. Let's see if your little pagan god, Fenrir, can protect you from my revenge. Time to load up the van and put my home system on remote access. I haven't felt this good since we raided the wolf infestation 10 years ago. This time, the results will be better. Landon Knox, I'm coming for you. Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm in position, my disguise complete. A vet injured overseas. Who would think a crippled man in an old van would ever be a threat? I've been watching this place for 3 days. It's a nice 2-story manor set in the desert. A modern house with solar panels on top, its own satellite dish, and a structure I believe is a well. Their home is made of a very light-colored stone, and the walls are thick. A hot tub and swimming pool are in the back, along with a 6-man sauna and a sculptured Japanese rock garden. The owner, the lawyer Raleigh Watson, has some money. I'd clocked their movement since I arrived. As soon as everybody left for whatever they did during the day, I'd have 8 hours to have fun. 15 minutes after they left, I drove my van on the dirt road and parked as close to their house as I could. It was easy to roll my wheelchair up the packed dirt. The front door was locked. No problem. It took me 15 seconds to pick it. A forced roll over the front step, and I was inside. The security system began beeping. I had 30 seconds. No problem. A state-of-the-art model security system. I attached an electronic automatic key, let it run through its function, and 20 seconds later, the alarm shut up. Their house was mine. Unfortunately, several rooms were upstairs, and there was no way I could go downstairs. I'd planned for this because I bought a mini drone with video. I opened up my laptop, activated the app, and let the mini drone out. I flew it upstairs first. 4 bedrooms, 1 bathroom, a lounge space. Only 1 bedroom in use, and it had direct access to a balcony. 2 people used it, and neither did much to clean up after themselves. They didn't have to. Neither one had much stuff. At a guess, Landon and Compton shared this room. I sent the drone into the basement, a game room / TV room, a bathroom, and a very sturdy door with a very sturdy lock. Landon's cage must be in there. I recalled the drone and put it away. Carefully, I rolled about the main floor. At the back of the house was a large master bedroom, obviously in use. Somebody kept it neat and tidy. 2 people lived here. One dressed very professionally. The other seemed more a college student. How did a lawyer and a college kid become lovers? Didn't matter. I carefully wheeled about, placing cameras in hidden locations, plus 6 incendiary bombs. Even werewolves are vulnerable to fire. Come the first night of the full moon, May's full moon was called the flower moon, I'd burn this house, the werewolves, and their human collaborators. Landon Knox would join his parents in hell. I had hours to get the cameras, the microphones, and the bombs ready. Once I was done, I made sure that I had left no tracks or traces I was here. I reactivated the security system, locked the front door, and drove to my observation camp. Shame to destroy such a nice house. The ceilings are high, the walls are thick, the furniture is very sturdy, as if these people roughhouse all the time. What had I learned? Compton and Landon shared a bed. Raleigh and Gray shared a bed. 2 gay couples lived here. That night, when all 4 men had arrived home, over the microphones, I heard Landon say, "Compton, Raleigh, we need to talk." "Do you need me?" Gray asked. "No," Landon said. "It's a tribe matter." Gray paused before he said, "I'm not part of the tribe?" "Sorry, that's not what I meant. You are part of the tribe," Landon said, his voice sounding flustered. "Maybe the most important part, but I need to talk to Raleigh and Compton about something. It really stinks in here. I can't explain it to you." Then Gray yelled, "Just because I'm a janitor and work with chemicals and garbage doesn't mean you have to be rude." "I don't mean to be," Landon said. "I can't talk about it." "Gray," Raleigh said, "go start with the dishes, and I'll be there in 5. After I assumed Gray left, Raleigh said, "Compton, you smell it too?" "Yes, but barely," Compton said. "Landon is almost as sensitive as my cousin." "I'll smooth things over with Gray," Raleigh said. "Work with Landon about getting some specifics." What had Gray gone into? Probably some ammonia cleaner that smelled disgusting, and Landon is only a dumb werewolf and wouldn't understand about chemicals. According to the cameras, Gray went into the kitchen, his face scrunched into something annoying. He stacked the dishes into the sink and turned the water on, but only a trickle. He wet a wash rag and wiped down the counter. A moment later, Raleigh entered the kitchen. Gray folded his arms, looking alone, a deep pain in his eyes, and he said, "Every time I think I'm part of this team, I'm reminded I'm not. It's because of my leg, isn't it?" "That's not it at all," Raleigh said. "Landon has been terrified for most of his life. He saw his parents and tribe murdered by Vatican hunters, innocent people who hadn't hurt anyone and were simply trying to live their lives. They were killed by Father Leto and his holy hunters. Landon was the only survivor. Because of that, he has trouble trusting others, and sometimes has trouble expressing himself. He's learned to hide to survive." "What did he need to talk to you about?" Gray said. "Something you won't like. I think Morrissey is back," Raleigh said, then turned the water off. "Let's take a walk and talk." They took a walk all right, about a mile away from the house. I sent the drone at maximum altitude to see what they were doing. I needn't have worried. They were too distracted with each other to have noticed anything. After all 4 men left the next day, I re-entered the house and finished planting devices. Somebody had accidentally moved a chair in front of one, and accidentally placed a book in front of another camera. I raided their fridge for something good. Ugh, can't anyone in this house cook? Nothing but cheap ramen and tons of fresh beef. I planted more microphones and more bugs near the pool, the hot tub, and the sauna, plus around the front driveway. A couple incendiary devices joined them as well. The night of the full moon would be explosive. My revenge would be complete. I did a little more research. Morrissey ran a casino in Atlanta. Turns out one of the former employees turned state's evidence against Morrissey, and that employee had a son named Gray. Raleigh's lover is in hiding. The Landon house is owned by Raleigh Watson. He had a law degree and passed the bar a year and a half ago. Who would have thought a werewolf would have brains enough to go to law school? Werewolves are stupid animals. Obviously, he's not a werewolf, but he is smart. But still, housing a werewolf? Does he even know Landon is a werewolf? His lover, Gray Hartvig, is a college student with a bad leg. He limps everywhere, and even has a cane he sometimes uses. Werewolves heal fast, so they don't have leg problems. Obviously, Gray is not a werewolf. Is it possible that the others don't know Landon is a werewolf? Then why the heavy door downstairs? When they returned home, the microphones didn't pick up any useful information except a late-night whisper from Raleigh in Gray's bedroom. "Do you think Morrissey found me?" Gray whispered. "Let me do the worrying," Raleigh said, and there was a kissing kind of noise. "Compton called home for advice," Raleigh said, "and you know Landon's a night owl. He'll let us know if anything happens." "I thought Compton and his dad weren't speaking," Gray whispered. "They're not," Raleigh said. Another kissing sound. "Landon spoke with me today," Gray said. "Oh," Raleigh said, and another kissing sound. "He wanted to apologize for our misunderstanding the other day," Gray said. "It's like you said, he's afraid to trust anybody, and he has a hard time opening up." "What are you doing?" A pause. Some type of shuffling sound. "Your shoulders are as tense as steel," Raleigh whispered. "I know how to distract you." A second later, New Age romantic music played in the background, blocking all sound, and it lasted all night. These guys reminded me of a frat because they play music constantly. The first day of the full moon arrived. Tonight, when the werewolves were in their cages, I'd ignite the explosives and head out of Las Vegas. At noon, something unexpected happened. 3 of the 4 men were home alone. Landon and Compton had gone swimming. I'd never seen a werewolf swim before. With all their splashing, I had trouble hearing them. Landon even splashed a couple of my listening devices. Dumb werewolf didn't know he was causing trouble for me. Gray, the man with the bad leg, was in the kitchen preparing meat for a barbecue when Raleigh pulled up in his BMW. 2 additional people got out, a man and a woman. "We're home," Raleigh yelled. "Compton, guess who I found at the airport?" In seconds, Compton, Gray, and Landon came out front. Compton ran and hugged the newcomer, yelling, "Jack, you're here. You actually came. And Miranda, it's good to see you too. I want you to meet my new tribe." Tribe? How dumb can werewolves be? Everybody knows the proper term is pack. They introduced everybody, and Jack gave Landon a hug, like they were long-lost brothers, or something. Weird. "Compton, everybody back home says hi," Jack said. "Except Gavin. He wanted me to flip you off because he says you still owe him money. And your dad? Well, that man holds a grudge until the end of time." "I don't think he'll ever forgive you," Miranda said. "We did have a knockdown, drag-out fight last time we saw each other," Compton said. "Your mom wants you to call her," Miranda said. "What about the new guys, Corey and Lucas?" Compton asked. Miranda and Jack looked at each other, and then Jack replied, "You need to stay away from Corey. He can't control Silver, and his mate Lucas can barely control him. The moon is too powerful." Miranda placed a hand on Compton's arm and said, "Silver is vicious. He'll rip you apart, then rip your throat out." "Who's Silver?" Gray asked. Miranda looked at Jack, who nodded, and then she said, "Corey's wolf. You know how Gavin can heal, and Jack has the sharpest senses, and Paola is fast and can jump. Silver is tough, stronger than all of us combined, and always angry. Corey once said that if rage were a power, Silver owns it," Jack said. "You make Silver and Corey sound like two different people," Landon said. Jack snickered and said, "That's about right. Don't get on Corey's bad side. And Compton, you are already on Corey's bad side, which means you are on Silver's bad side." "I don't even remember what happened, but I don't blame him," Compton said. Raleigh pulled some grocery sacks from the trunk and said, "Guys, we are getting too serious. This is supposed to be a party. Miranda, why don't you help Gray in the kitchen? Jack, I'll help you with your suitcases and show you to your room. Hope you don't mind the second floor. Compton and Landon, get the barbecue grills warmed up. The extra propane is in the fireproof cupboard in the garage." Then Jack said, "I've got a new playlist. I hope you like country because I've recently come across a band called Leapfrog." Miranda groaned and said, "Jack plays it everywhere. Wouldn't you know, it's the only thing Gavin and Jack both like. I think the only reason Gavin likes it is because Corey hates it." Raleigh grinned at that and said, "Did I mention that the house is almost as smart as me? We'll Bluetooth your phone through my speaker system, and we can hear it anywhere or everywhere, in or out of the house." "Let's see how loud your speakers can go," Jack said. "If you break my house, you pay for it," Raleigh said. But he was smiling. "I hadn't expected extra people, and if they played music everywhere, I'd have a hard time listening to them. This could complicate my plans. Still, as soon as the moon rose, Landon would be in his cage, and everybody else was a werewolf too. Everybody would go inside, and the explosions would kill them all. Any humans who died would be regrettable collateral damage, but if they collaborated with werewolves, they deserved what they got. I'll say a Hail Mary for their souls tomorrow morning when I get back to Colorado." I followed the two going into the kitchen, Gray and Miranda. The good news? The music hadn't started yet. Unfortunately, the two had their backs to the hidden camera in the kitchen. While they were getting meat ready for the barbecue, Miranda asked, "Compton said you needed someone to talk to. This whole business about being Raleigh's mate has taken its toll on your psyche. I'm Jack's mate. Maybe I can help." I should have realized. Gray and Miranda were nothing but collaborators, traitors to their own species, and they slept with werewolves. Disgusting. There were a couple of chops and clicks when Gray finally said, "I keep feeling that Raleigh could do better. I mean, just months ago, I was a college student in Atlanta. Now I don't know what I am." "You're a mate," Miranda said, "the most important person in Raleigh's life, and in the tribe." "That's only during the full moon," Gray said. Miranda put something on a platter and then said, "Anna could explain this better. Most people think crystals and auras and energy balance are simply superstitious. For a wolf, they are alive." "What do you mean?" Gray asked. "An aura extends an inch or so from the body, surrounding the body. Though with strong emotions, it might be more, Miranda said. Keep going, Gray said. When your aura interacts with Raleigh's, it not only calms him down, but drains excess moon energy. Similar to silver and obsidian, a mate is even stronger at calming a wolf. Which brings the main limitation. A wolf can only have one mate, and a mate can only have one wolf. It's a life commitment. So, if a mate dies, the wolf is alone for the rest of their life, I said. Miranda nodded and said, Unfortunately, it's taken generations to figure this out. Who knows how many wolves have been slaughtered through the centuries? Gray set the knives down and took a ragged breath. What makes you so important? Is that your question? Miranda asked. Weird, isn't it? Gray said. I'm just a college student. There's nothing important about me. Miranda made Gray face her, and she said, You are mate of the Alpha. Without you, the tribe could not function, especially during the full moon. Gray took an intense breath. Miranda set her knives down and looked at Gray. Are you okay? Gray's voice trembled when he said, That doesn't make sense. All of you seem so calm, so brave, but I'm just scared all the time. Raleigh, Miranda softly called. Gray needs you. I flashed through the camera feeds, looking for Raleigh. The lawyer was out back with Compton and Landon, helping with the barbecues, yet he heard Miranda's soft mention of Gray's name. All their heads looked back at the house. That's impossible. How sensitive is their hearing? They are nothing but monsters. As Raleigh left them, he said, Jack, let's start now, as he jogged back to the house, into the kitchen, and took Gray in his arms. Miranda, give us 5, okay? I'll take the meat out to the barbecues, she said. I don't think Raleigh even hurt her, because he kissed Gray. It was one of those porn star kind of kisses, with tongue and roaming hands, and I couldn't keep my eyes off them. I expanded the window and zoomed in close. It wasn't a romantic kind of kiss, but one of pure animal passion. Both men hungered for each other, and if we had more time, I bet they'd find their bed. Feeling better? Raleigh asked, holding Gray tight. Very tight. Gray whispered something the microphone couldn't pick up, and both men held each other. We're going to be okay, Raleigh said. Was I a closeted gay, or bi, or straight? None of that mattered. Since Marion Knox paralyzed me, I haven't had any feeling below my waist for 10 years. I'm asexual below the waist, and who knows what I am above the waist. Because of my celibacy vows, I don't know what I am. I've never dated, slept with anyone, or got to know anybody. What's the point? I've lived for revenge. Tonight, Landon will pay for what his mother did to me. The two men walked out front, arms about each other. This would be a perfect time. I wheeled back to a selection of cases and chose one. I opened it and assembled the sniper rifle. Father Leto had trained me on it ages ago. Could I shoot a wolf from this distance? With computer-assisted targeting? Easily. I'd take the shot, and whether I hit or missed, I'd blow up the house right after. Only problem was that only Jack was inside. Best to stick with the plan, because my main target was out back. Even if I blew up the house, Landon would survive. I loaded the recoilless rifle with the special sniper rounds. Silver hollow point. No wolf would survive one of those. I sighted Raleigh and Gray through the scope. All it would take is one shot. I mentally said bang, but didn't pull the trigger. If it had only been Landon. I'd get my chance. Soon. Raleigh positioned himself between me and Gray. Blind luck? Or, on some unconscious level, did he know I was here? Impossible. I'd been very careful. The day passed and approached evening. The sun would set soon, and the moon would rise. The only problem? Nobody was inside. They moved the table and chairs out front, as if to give me the perfect shot, but moved around constantly, eating and celebrating, as if taunting me. They were enjoying themselves outside. Landon was there as well. How dare he smile? How dare he enjoy himself when Father Leto was dead and my team were in jail? And there was Gray, trying his best to be brave. Why would somebody like Raleigh Watson hang around with a timid, fraidy cat like him? Raleigh sat next to Gray, their knees touching, and the beer flowed freely among the friends. Disgusting. Humans knowingly socializing with at least 2 werewolves? The evening light was perfect to take a shot, and in their panic they'd run indoors for shelter. Then I'd trigger the explosions. The wolves would die. I'd have my revenge on Marion Knox and make the world safer for humanity. After locking the wheelchair in place, I lifted the rifle and synced the targeting scope Bluetooth with my system. It would be so accurate that I could shoot a fly off the wall. The bullet would take half a second to get there. I could get 2 shots off. I took aim. The targeting scope let me zoom in. So little pathetic Gray was considered the most valuable. He's nothing but a useless college kid. Dumb werewolves have their priorities backwards. So I'd fire at Gray first, then in the stunned aftermath. Landon was next. I exhaled, stilling my breathing, focused for a second, took one last breath, held it, steadied my aim, and fired. Time seemed to slow. Mid-sentence, Raleigh shifted to a charcoal gray wolf, stood between Gray and the bullet. The bullet hit the wolf in the chest, but only slowed the bullet. It went right through Raleigh so fast he didn't have a chance to whimper. Through and through. Success. Nobody had a chance to scream. Compton shifted to a huge black wolf, pushed Gray to the ground, and took the bullet meant for him. 2 with 1 shot. I'm good. Landon was next. I took aim again, but Landon wasn't where he was supposed to be. He had shifted and ran towards me. How can any being move that fast? How did he know where I was? He wasn't the only wolf. Through the speakers on my computer, I heard Jack yell, "Miranda!" "Rip his throat out, love," the woman said. "I've got this." Jack also shifted, but he was a smaller wolf, but was as fast as Landon. He was maybe a yard or 2 behind Landon. I took aim at Landon, but the targeting system had trouble locking on. Landon had actually picked up speed. Nobody was running into the house. Gray was helping Raleigh stand, and Compton seemed to shrug. Raleigh shifted to human and took Gray by the shoulders and yelled, "Are you okay?" Gray nodded and said, "You've been shot." "I'll be fine in an hour," Raleigh said. "Compton?" Compton shifted from black wolf to human and said, "You expect that little thing would hurt?" A silver-tipped, hollow-point sniper round meant nothing to them? The realization hit. I hadn't gotten anybody. I want revenge, I screamed, and activated the explosives inside the house. Nothing happened. I have to get out of here. My chair wouldn't move. What the hell? Landon was within pistol range. How was he so fast? I pulled my pistol out and took shots. He dodged every single one of them. His eyes were bright, silver, the same color as the moon. It scared me. I looked into his eyes and felt the terror strangle my stomach. Landon somehow knew I had been there when his family had died. He knew I had fought alongside Father Leto against his mother. He knew that I had helped exterminate his species. There was vengeance in his eyes. I grabbed a second pistol and fired until it was empty. Landon ignored the bullets. I tried to wheel away, but couldn't move. Damn, I had locked the wheelchair so I could take aim. I reached down, unlocked the chair, and suddenly Landon was on top of me, spilling me out of the chair, ripping the chair to shreds, biting me, ripping out my flesh, going berserk. I screamed. How was I still conscious? Jack, now in human form, pulled Landon off of me, and Landon shifted to human and screamed at me, "Murderer, you killed my family." He tried to break free of Jack's grip. I tried to crawl away and yelled, "Monster!" That drove Landon insane, and he shifted to wolf, clawing at Jack, biting at him, an uncontrollable beast. His eyes blazed silver fire. I didn't sense any intelligence behind those eyes, only bestial hatred directed at me. For the first time since I started this mission, I felt terror. Jack held tighter to the wolf, but he prayed to his pagan god. "Fenrir, give me strength." Landon thrashed in his arms, a wild beast that nothing could control. Jack took a nasty swipe to his face, and the cut started bleeding, and then a second cut. The wolf that had been Landon had gone berserk. Jack screamed, "Compton, I need you here, now!" Landon broke free from Jack, foam frothing at his mouth. His silver eyes blasted into my soul. He screamed, sounding both wolf and human, and his terrible howl overflowed with rage. At me. The werewolf lunged for me. I couldn't crawl fast enough. It bit me on the arm and clawed my chest. I screamed. Panicking, I pushed it away and crawled away as fast as I could. Landon was much faster. "Somebody save me!" I yelled. Jack tackled the wolf that had been Landon, bleeding from dozens of cuts and bites, but holding him, keeping him away from me. "Compton, I'm not strong enough," he yelled. Landon was a hysterical monster, clawing and biting, ripping and shredding. I touched my chest, and my hand came away bloody. My left arm wouldn't move. My wheelchair had been crushed in the fall, ripped apart beyond all repair. I began to lose consciousness. No, then the damned werewolves would get me. I have to get away. "Help!" I yelled. My plan had been perfect. What had happened? "Compton!" Jack yelled. Landon's eyes bled silver. Foam and spittle leaked from his jaws. His growl was like thunder. "Have mercy on me," I screamed, but Jack held Landon tight, himself bleeding and screaming, and suddenly they were rolling on the ground. A large black wolf emerged from the darkness, shifted into Compton, and enveloped Landon in his arms. Jack rolled away, panting, eyes closed, bleeding. A wolf transformed into Raleigh. The wolf in Compton's arms began to relax, and its whine sounded like a sob. Raleigh knelt next to me, and his smile told me that I would die. He softly said, "I'll show you as much mercy as you showed Robert and Marion Knox, or my mate. May Fenrir curse you." Darkness took me, but somewhere in my mind was the silvery light of the hated moon. I passed out with a single question. Why did I hate the moon? I woke with the dawn. A part of my mind knew it was the morning after the third full moon. I was cold, shivering, naked, trapped inside a cage. Instead of taking me to a hospital, they took me to the room in their basement and left me. Stupid werewolves. I felt about for my injuries. I had none, not even scars. Had the fight been a dream? I barely remembered these last few days. What I did remember, I had lost to a dumb werewolf and was now captured by the same people I had tried to destroy. 4 of the 6 were werewolves. A cage across the room held both Compton and Landon, and Landon's eyes were still silver. He was visibly shivering, and he whispered, "I've never felt this bad before." Like a child, Compton cradled Landon in his arms, saying, "You're okay now. Full moon's over. I'm here, and I'll always be here." Black stone surrounded that cage, and only that cage. Compton held another black stone, tight against Landon's chest. Miranda sat just outside the cage, a Tibetan singing bowl in her lap, and she gently ran some type of decorative dowel around its edge. Its calming chime soothed me. Miranda smiled at Landon and said, "Just stay calm and let the obsidian draw the moon's energy out of your soul." "What happened? I don't remember," Landon whispered, his voice raspy and hoarse. "You let the moon take control," Compton softly said. "You've been moon-crazed since you tried to kill Lawrence," Miranda said, setting the bowl down. She passed a blanket into the cage, and Compton wrapped his boyfriend in it. "I remember a man," Landon said. "He was there that night 10 years ago. He killed my mother." "Lawrence survived your attack," Compton said. "He's in the cage on the other side of the room." "We were worried about you," Miranda said. "I called Steph, and she suggested the singing bowl. It brought Mark back to normal, and he was in a worse state than you were." "Just sleep," Compton said, "and I'll tell you everything when you wake." I remember Jack trying to stop me, but I don't know what I was doing. Did I hurt him? Did I hurt you?" Landon said. "Only a few scratches," Compton said. "Nothing we can't take." "I'm sorry," Landon said. Compton lightly kissed Landon and said, "Nobody blames you." "Anna and Steph believe you should sleep for the rest of the day, surrounded with as much obsidian as we can find," Miranda said. "Compton needs to watch over you, because moon crazy is dangerous. We don't want you to go berserk again. You seriously could have reached Silver's level, and that's not something to be proud of." Were all werewolves this stupid? They believed in those idiotic pagan traditions, and they were dumb because they were spilling all this information for free. Didn't they realize I'm the enemy? I shifted positions. Landon turned his head and looked at me with those scary silver eyes. I flashed back to 10 years ago, to the werewolf, Marion Knox. She had the same silver eyes. Mother and son resembled each other. The look of hatred that crossed Landon's features startled me, and his hoarse voice muttered, "Why is he here? He killed my family." Compton helped Landon stand and said, "That scum is Lawrence, and he works with Father Leto. He's here because you bit him. He's a wolf now." Had I heard right? This punk infected me? "That's a lie," I said. "He makes me sick. Get me away from him," Landon said, but couldn't hide the weakness in his voice. Compton sniffed the air and gave a happy sigh as he said, "Do you feel up for breakfast? Gray is making steak and eggs and pancakes, and by now, I bet Jack has already drained 1 pitcher of coffee and started another." Miranda opened their cage and said, "No caffeine. I want Landon to sleep all day and all night. Orange juice only." Compton carried Landon out of the room. Miranda and her Tibetan bull following. "Are you going to leave me in here?" I yelled. "I'm hungry." Compton turned, stared at me, then said, "Do you want to know what your first mistake was?" "I didn't make any mistakes," I said. "We smelled you the day you planted the bugs," Compton said. "It freaked Gray out so bad, he was sure Morrissey had found him. We talked at a coffee shop where you couldn't hear us. Landon wanted to disappear. So did Gray. Raleigh and I wanted to wait and see who was behind all of this. Gray and Landon finally changed their minds when I agreed to call my cousin Jack for help. Do you want to know what your second mistake was?" "What?" I asked. "This is a smart home," Compton said. "It recorded every moment of you entering our house, from the second you pulled into the drive to the second you left. Too bad we only had cameras on all the doors leading outside. Nice job breaking and entering, but you could take lessons from Landon. You scratched the lock when you picked it." "You're just stupid wolves," I said. "What do you know?" "Third mistake," Compton said. "We have friends. Jack possesses the best senses I've ever seen. We called him, and he found every single one of your devices in 15 minutes. While Miranda and Gray talked about wolf stuff in the kitchen, you didn't realize that they were the distraction while we got everything removed. We figured you were a perv because you watched Raleigh and Gray using that little drone when they were in the desert. So they put a little show on for you in the kitchen. I will give you credit for one thing." "What?" I asked. "Your base was very well hidden from the rest of us," Compton said, "until you took the shot. That was your fifth mistake, because then we knew exactly where you were." The door clicked shut behind them. "Wait," I yelled. "You can't leave me like this. I have rights." Nobody returned. I guess they can leave me here. This room had only one door and no windows. The concrete walls looked impenetrable. I was trapped inside an iron cage that was inside a locked concrete room designed to keep a rampaging werewolf from escaping. I was screwed. But I heard everything that was going on in the house. Raleigh was on the phone with someone, and he said, "No, I don't know what we're going to do with him. If you've got ideas." A slight pause, and then Raleigh said, "Scared the crap out of Gray, but he's fine now. Landon's doing better too. Neither Compton, Jack, or I have a mark on us. Good thing hunters are dumb." Gray was in the kitchen frying bacon, and he said, "Do you think Landon will want anything to eat? I can put on some extra steaks." And Jack answered, "He hasn't eaten for 3 days. Make him something anyway." Compton set Landon in a chair, and then I heard and smelled the sound of him pouring fresh squeezed orange juice. Miranda started ringing the singing bowl again and said, "Gray, I only eat a fourth as much as the boys. I would kill to have their metabolism. You doing okay?" "When Raleigh holds me," he said. Compton chuckled and yelled, "Raleigh, get off the phone and get in here." It was like I was in the same room hearing all of this and smelling all of this. Strange. Wasn't this building soundproofed or something? Wait a second. I'm in a cage. I've been bitten. Was this what a wolf smelled all the time? Did they hear everything? The distant smell of steak and eggs wafted down. I felt weird. No injuries, but I had a headache and the worst taste in my mouth, and my knee ached. Oh my God, I had sensations in my legs. I looked down and suddenly realized I was standing. Being turned into a werewolf had healed the damage to my spine. My legs, which should be weak, were strong. I could walk again. The cursed werewolf infection had healed me. A dark miracle. For the first time in a decade, I wiggled my toes. The inconsiderate werewolves left me in the cage all day. It was well past sunset when somebody came. The door opened, and Jack entered. He held a cell phone and handed it to me. "Hello," I said. "Let me introduce myself," the deep voice on the other end of the phone said. "I'm Edmund Compton, father to Wesley Compton. You shot my son. You terrified Raleigh's mate. 10 years ago, you killed friends of mine. Landon grew up alone and on the run because of you. I find your actions unforgivable, but I'm willing to give you one chance. We will keep it simple. I'm waiting outside. Here's what I'm going to do. Jack will unlock your cage. You will have 5 minutes to make your escape. Then I will start the hunt. If you somehow escape me tonight, you'll live, at least until I find you. Too bad for you. I never get tired." "But I don't have a car, only my legs. How is that fair?" I said. "You shot my son, and you are whining about fairness?" Edmund said with a dark chuckle. 5 minutes starts now." Click. The phone hung up. Click. Jack released the lock on my cage and opened the door. Moon silver leaked from his angry eyes. I couldn't stop the horror in my gut. "Run, Brother Lawrence, run," Jack said. "I'm going to enjoy this." Epilogue. Compton's point of view. A familiar scent was on the air. One I hadn't scented for more than 2 years. It woke me. I had cuddled Landon close as he slept. I guess I slept too. It belonged to my father, the man I hated, the man I loved. What was he doing here? I closed my eyes and listened. Gray had turned on his white noise generator to give him and Raleigh a little bit of privacy. Wolves hear everything, so I can't blame him. Miranda slept in a nearby room, alone. Jack's heartbeat was steady and slow, and not with Miranda. After I got out of bed, I pulled on some pants and went downstairs. Rapid footsteps sounded coming upstairs. Somebody was running. Lawrence ran out the front door. First thought, he didn't need his wheelchair anymore. Second thought, he can't get away with what he's done. I was about to shift to wolf when Jack came up the stairs, his eyes filled with silver. I'd never seen my cousin so angry, but he smelled of stale fear also. He placed a hand on my shoulder and shook his head. "It's handled," he said. "What do you mean? Why is my dad here?" I asked. "Justice," Jack said. "Miranda was only 3 feet away from Gray. Lawrence could have targeted her. I could have lost my mate to that monster." I nodded, completely understanding. I went to the front door and looked out. Lawrence ran into the darkness, in human form. A dark shadow stood nearby. I would know that form and scent anywhere. "Dad," I softly said, knowing he could hear me. "Wesley," he said, equally as soft. "Are you okay? What about the others?" "I'm fine," I said. "Landon will be soon, and Raleigh is a quick healer. Gray is freaked, but being with Raleigh has helped him calm down. You don't have to do this. I should be the one." The shadow began removing his clothes and said, "You and I might be angry at each other for years, maybe for a lifetime. Maybe in a few years we can forgive each other, maybe not. Brother Lawrence almost took that away from us. Maybe it's for the best we have lots of space between us. I'm glad you found a new tribe, and you found Landon. You won't believe me, but I really do wish you the best. In spite of what happened, I still love you." "Dad," I said, "I don't know what to say." "Call your mom. Let her know you're okay," Dad said, and the shadow melted into a large black wolf. I take after my dad like that. The wolf howled, and then it ran into the darkness. For a second, and only for a second, I pitied Brother Lawrence. A pair of arms wrapped around me. Landon had snuck up on me again. I'll never get used to how quiet he can be. We both watched as the large black wolf disappeared. Landon picked me up in his arms and whispered, "It's time I took care of you." He carried me up to the bedroom. Epilogue 2. Brother Lawrence's point of view. It didn't matter how fast I ran. The large black wolf followed me. It chased me into a location about 5 miles from the house. I smelled the humans before I saw the black van. Thunk, something bit into my arm. Thunk, something bit into my chest. Thunk, something bit into my neck. I began to feel drowsy. I'd been tranquilized. "Edmund, you finally let me shoot someone," a man with 3 scars on his left cheek said. He was carrying a rifle, and he reloaded it with tranq rounds. As I fell, 3 figures in black suits exited the van. 2 of them opened the back and removed a gurney. "What's going on?" I said. "You're not going to kill me?" The big black wolf turned back to human and said, "Nice work, Gavin." The man named Gavin knelt next to me, felt my pulse, and said, "The illustrious Brother Lawrence, think of this as your special form of hell. All the wolves you dealt with wanted to be nice guys. I'm not a nice guy. I used to fight with Compton all the time, and I barely remember Landon. Never met the other 2, but I think Raleigh is a snob, and Gray is afraid of his own shadow. Guess what? They're still family, and you hurt my family. Bad move on your part. You should have kept playing with your little computers. But no, you had to go on the attack." "What are you going to do to me?" I asked. Edmund knelt on my other side and said, "You were a paraplegic whose nerves suddenly regenerated. That happens with wolves. To the right people, that makes you valuable. Imagine what they could learn about cell regeneration. Our friends are researchers from a secret lab in Oaxaca, Mexico. It's kind of illegal. The point is that they are going to dissect you over and over and over again. Have a nice nap, because you won't like where you wake up. Nighty-night." Gavin took aim with the tranq gun and fired again, point blank in the middle of my chest. I tried to scream as the men in black suits loaded me on the gurney and drove for parts unknown. I remember Gavin asking Edmund, "Do you want to get a beer before we head back to Wolf Hollow?" The end. Thank you for joining me for the latest chapter with the wolves. I'm Gio, author and reader of this piece. Thank you for joining me. If you'd like to hear other stories about gay men falling in love, I post new stories every Wednesday. And we'll see you next Wednesday. Peace.